Hi, I'm Danny Nightmare.
I'm Gory B Movie.
And we're horror addicts.
And today, we got a package from Scream Magazine. It's like a review and an unboxing in one. Let's tear into this bad boy.
What's on the cover?
Kiss of the Vampire. Scream Magazine was nice enough to send it to us in exchange for a review. So yeah, we're gonna go read this really quick. We'll be right back, I swear.
So we just got back and we read the whole thing.
Input, Corey, input.
They have this awesome article in here with Lisa Wilcox, who played Alice in A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Hell, I believe she's one of Freddy's foes that actually went on to survive throughout more than one movie and never was actually killed.
You don't hear her mentioned a lot, but she went up against him at least as many times as Nancy did.
And survived.
She's a badass.
So there's also another great interview in here with Greg McLean, the writer and director of both the Wolf Creek movies. But this time he's tackling something a little more supernatural, as a family picks up a strange entity as they visited the Grand Canyon and are now being haunted by it.
I knew the Grand Canyon was bad news.
As so is Australia.
They got big spiders there.
Yeah, and backpack killers.
And next up, there's a cool little article in here called VHS Ate My Brain. So this is written by Andrew Haunt. And he writes about how a lot of horror movies just look better on VHS. They're meant to be kind of gritty and battered. And he gives us a peek at some of his picks, like Creepshow and Vamp and Bad Dreams. One movie that I've always preferred on VHS is Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Also The Ring. You just need to own a copy of that on VHS.
I wish I was one of the very few people who had VHS on VHS.
I know, right?
Very limited release. To quench your bloody thirst for news and gossip, you get Behind the Screens, where they tell you all that's going on in horror today.
I am particularly excited because there's some news and gossip in here about Death House. Everybody who's ever been in a horror movie is in this movie. Like every time Death House posts new pictures of this movie on Twitter, like my eyeballs just explode. So I need a trailer, like now. They also talk about Pascal Laguerre's upcoming movie. He's the guy who did Martyrs, which is freaking amazing. And his next movie is gonna be a ghost story. But if you wanna know more, you're gonna have to read it in here, because this girl don't give you no spoilers.
Though I will give you one spoiler. Rob Zombie's 31 is set to come out in September.
And they've got an interview in here with director Jeremy Saulnier, who directed Green Room. I haven't seen this one yet, so I'm probably gonna wait to read this article, but I know a lot of you have, so please leave a comment down below and let me know what your thoughts are on this movie. So far, everything I've heard has been awesome.
And as the cover shows, there's a very brilliant and in-depth look at the 1963 Kiss of the Vampire. This article takes you really deep into the history, and it gives you a really good insight about that movie. One thing I can tell you about that classic movie is it does have bite.
And apparently, legendary director Pete Walker talks about Britsploitation. Yeah, I'm from Britain. I was born in England. I moved over here when I was about 10. So is that like the exploitation of British people? Like blaxploitation? Like Britcula? Is that a thing?
I thought Britsploitation was just like old British people wearing women's underwear, like on the BBC.
What BBC are you watching?
There's also a very interesting interview in here where Scream Magazine interviews Colin and Cameron Carnes, and they talk about all their horror pranks, which we all know those can go wrong.
I know LOL's a good prank.
Usually at my expense.
There's also an article in here about the state of British comics, which makes sense because Scream Magazine comes to us right out of the UK. Now, I don't really pay much attention to where the comics I read are from, but I'm not sure that I've read any of these comics. I certainly haven't read Blood Blokes or whatever this terrifying man spider thing is right here. Yeah, I'm just gonna avoid that on principle because fuck spiders. And there's also a pretty sweet interview in here with director John Gulager. If you don't recognize that name, he's the guy who brought us the Feast films and Piranha 3DD. Now, I don't know if you've seen Feast, but it's amazing. It's one of those very underrated films that you really need to go find it and watch it because it's awesome. It totally breaks all the horror conventions, and if you move on into the sequels, there are some pretty cool slapsticky things that happen in those movies as well. John Gulager is definitely a dude that likes his gore.
He likes when people get eaten.
And pooped out. There's also a pretty in-depth article in here with the director and composer from The Entity. If you haven't seen that film, it is truly horrific, mostly because it's based on a true story about a woman who is repeatedly beaten and raped by this supernatural entity that continues to follow her no matter where she goes, no matter where she moves. And it's true.
And what I can only assume is something that they do every month is they have different book and Blu-ray reviews. I especially enjoyed the one about Bride of Reanimator. Kind of like what we do, but you gotta read it yourself.
Reading. It's exercise for your brain. So what article in this issue did you enjoy the most?
John Gulager. I love Feast and I loved Piranha 3DD.
I think my favorite was the interview with Lisa Wilcox, Alice from A Nightmare on Elm Street. She's awesome and definitely one of my favorite final girls, so it was really cool to get to know her better and learn a few behind the scenes secrets about the films.
Now, as someone who loves Rube Morgue magazine or Fangoria, I would also say if you enjoy those, you will love Scream magazine. I highly recommend this too, and I'm glad that I've now stumbled upon it.
And what's awesome about Scream Horror Magazine is like how Rue Morgue's out of Canada and we get a slightly different perspective there than we get from our Fangoria magazine. This is out of the UK, so you're gonna find things in here you're not gonna find in the other magazines. Definitely one that you guys will enjoy and should check out. So guys, that's it for the May-June issue of Scream Magazine. If you want one of your very own, you can go to screamhorrormag.com. There will be links in the description. They're also over on Twitter and YouTube. Cut! Hey guys, if you like this video, please hack that thumbs up button. And if you're new here, subscribe.
What article did you find most fascinating? Let us know in the comments.
Thanks for watching.